Okay, yeah, I remember what I needed to talk about. Well, I was playing a video game here, and what video games really are. I have a man in my head that talks to me. He's a man that died a week before I was born, but he read the Book of Revelation and realized that these are based on real stories, and they have a sequence to them. People born at certain times and where these parents are going to migrate. So it's just basically understanding the molecular bodies that continue through a mother's line that stays alive, and then has the right father that believes in the line of the son, so we can have the Ark of the Covenant to redeem the Gospels. So he knew. So he sat and read it. Okay, he's going to be. They all knew. That's the whole thing. Is there what could Krishnamurti and Haile Selassie, and I had that when I was in Sierra Vista, guys. They came and encountered me and all that, and they were fucking with me and just trying to destroy me. And then I went, oh shit, and they started giving me things about Islamic prophecy and all this stuff, and about the ones that has the battle with the one-eyed man, that's like Abraham and Muhammad, and I knew it was Isaac Paul Benegas, and I made a private video on my computer. You're trying to literally make deals with the devil. You're like, do what you're ever gonna do with me. Just leave the kids alone. And that's like telling them, go ahead and kill me, but don't be this vicious or mean or pathetic or manipulative with the kids. It's like, okay, these are the people that gave us the Holocaust. Tularosa, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the U-2, the SR-71, the written documents to say it's okay for us to have a virtual presence in your house to make sure that we use money to manipulate you to feel powerful and be an authority through these popularity contests through word invention. You're like, you can't, you're like, but when it was happening to me, you got to understand, I was in my 40s, and everything was coming at me at once, and I was like, you just leave them alone. Yeah, it was kind of like Luke Skywalker, perhaps your sister, no, I never turn to the dark side with you, right? And so I wasn't that goofy. It was very dramatic. Okay. I was crying, and I was like, leave them alone, and they were probably laughing at the fort. Wouldn't surprise me. Oh, not a leg. Okay. And it's like, well, we already got them. They're already signed, sealed, delivered, bought, and so they believe Jesus is God and not a man, and what? It's just But DT Suzuki, he probably connects to me, stuff, and he sits there, and I'm playing these video games to connect to higher learning institutions and what's going on with their minds, because I dropped out, and what's still going on in the 2000s, right? And I'm playing Alabama, Colorado State, and the game's cheating, and he's getting all like Earl. I'm like, I know. It's an evil, interactive, manipulative cartoon. Okay. To manipulate, it's not test people, to manipulate people to get them to react to certain stimuli so they're more easily manipulated. Okay. And that's what makes you so mad. Okay. When you play. Because it's like when you watch propaganda, you listen to propaganda, you watch it, you get mad because it's like people are they forgive debt and trespass, love one, eternal faithful peace. What's so freaking hard about applying that in physics, right? And so it makes you really mad. So when you play video games, you got to remember it's an evil, interactive, manipulative cartoon. It's Assassin's Creed. It's Call of Duty. It's Max Payne. It's horrible. I like when on the Big Bang Theory, they're making jokes about it. I think when Gandhi said that, not to kill, he didn't know how much fun it was killing, running around killing things, and it's not fun. No, it's not fun, man. Guys, I hit a frog with a lawnmower, and its brains were, and it was suffering and dying, and I had to go get a big rock and crush it to put it out of its misery. And I cried. I was in my 40s, and of course they were probably laughing at White Sands. Yeah, most likely. This guy's the guy like King David and Saladin? Yes. Okay. You apparently can't read, can you? David wept. They both did. They both wept when they had to. David couldn't talk Goliath into understanding his religion and being a religious person. He thought he could do it. Like me with military intel, UFC fighting, the NFL, FIFA, NBA, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, I thought, oh, this would be easy, man. Look what I've done. Look at all that, dove into the bowels of hell. But apparently, I still got people. Your religious beliefs are selfish. Okay, you're a professional assassin for the government, and people understand my true religion. You can no longer be a professional assassin for the government because we'll be living the applied physics of the Lord's Prayer. You have the audacity to front on me and say my religious beliefs are selfish, and you keep me safe with a gun walking around this store where they hold all the food hostage and don't live the truth of my strength of faith. Boom, 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 and you're like, fuck. Seriously? They don't. They can't think. Okay. They're brain chemical addicts. Brain chemical addicts don't think. They just put the straw to the nose and they sniff the coke. I do not sniff the coke. I only smoke Since Amelia. Do you understand? That's also Pato Batten. Yeah, it is. Which reminds me, I got to put Pato and Roger on my MP3. But god dang, if I want music, I don't edit these and put in dramatic music. If I want to put music into it to make it dramatic, I provide the music my own damn self. I scat sing and it's true. I even do my own background vocals. Like Marvin Gaye and Luther Vandross and Stevie Nicks. You funny. I know. I know how funny I am. But yeah, that's what video games are. They're manipulative instruments. I wouldn't call them tools. No. Forgive debt and trespass, love one another, cheerful peace. Show people how to play proper tech or football using a video game. Yeah, doing things, properly. Proper tackling, form, not all these vicious hits. People flying around in the air. That guy would have been doing all the crazy things that they do. Well, because they're sick. At first, I thought it was because they're afraid of the military. Now I know that they're brain chemical addicts. I do not sniff the coke. I only smoke Since Amelia. White, ram lam dingly dang dang, ram lam dingly dang dang, and his girlfriend ram lam ding dong. Blow away. Anybody else particularly fond of Forgotten Master, Flash, and Melima? They're one of my favorite rap groups. When rap came out, I wasn't as into Rapper's Delight as I was into the. Gosh damn it! It's my favorite rap song when I was a kid. Well, I was really into Marvin Gaye and What's Going On. The Message, okay. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me, my grandma watches too much TV. It's just not healthy. Got rats in the front room, roaches in the back, And so I was like, damn, that was my rap song when I was a kid. I was like, shit, that's taking Mercy, Mercy Me and Inner City Blues and just really just going, bam. Okay. You didn't listen to Marvin? Okay, well, I'm going to kick you in the gut. Okay. That's why I liked Grandmaster Flash with The Message, And I was like, a little bit of war mixed in. Walk around starry-eyed, but for you and for me, the world is a ghetto, right? And Ghetto Child, life ain't quite so easy when you're a ghetto child, right? So I was there, Barrio Boy. I remember reading that book in college and crying at the last, because it was almost like, where he just, Donna Esther and Donna Anna and Donna and Don Luis and Donna. They got the little Barrio Boy from Mexico to California riding his bike. They all died from the Spanish influenza. He told these stories about these amazingly kind people getting this little boy up from Mexico to California, during the Spanish influenza, and they all died. And it's like they sacrificed their life to get this kid to California, to go to college and be an author. I just was in tears, a little bit. I just got sad. I was like, it just, when I read the end of it, I realized, and the way he wrote it, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't touching. It wasn't this. It was just, that's life. That's what people say. You know, it was Frank Sinatra. You're on top of it, and then you go, and it's not true. You know, these people weren't being given the truth of the Messiah that talked in prayer to Juan Diego. You know, that talked in prayer with Tishna. That talked in prayer with Chief Joseph and Tecumseh. You know, guys, life's eternal and grace is infinite. When they talked to Jesus, you would talk to one of us. You talk to all of us. Do you understand? It's just if they're being too busy, it was hard. You know, the whole thing, like I told you about Herschel Steinschneider and the Four Directions and Little Hawk and Crazy Horse and stuff. And when I was growing up, my mom read these books to me, okay, and Crazy Horse and Little Hawk were very important to me. And then when we moved to Wyoming, okay, many times, every time I walked and I was walking in the snow to my girlfriend's house and stuff like that, he would walk with me and talk with me. It wasn't Crazy Horse. It was this young man named Little Hawk, okay, and he would tell me about his life and what was happening, you know. And then when we went back to Wyoming again, you know, that's the place where there was the wagon box fight. This is where Bigfoot lived with this is where, you know, and he told me where everybody lived. And when I went to school, I mean, where I worked at that school on Big Goose Highway down towards Cloud Peak and Bighorn, you know, in all these areas. This is where the deer would come in the backyard. You know? And this is where Little Hawk would walk all the way from Fort Laramie through Casper, all the way up to this valley, this Big Goose Creek Highway, you know, going down to Cloud Peak. Anyway, yeah. You know, Porky Pig. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, and the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard. I just, you know, it's a little patch of heaven way out west. When I see Patch of Heaven, when I said that my kids like that movie, I was like, that reminds me of Wheatland. Or little Patch of Heaven reminds you of Wheatland, Wyoming. It's along this flat and all that, and you got this little patch of where this water comes through, and there's a good farmland, Wheatland, Wyoming, right? It's just a little patch, but it works for just a few people and their critters, you know. And Wyoming has spots like that. You know, you go along and it seems like, oh, this seems hard, and then there's a place where water comes through it, and you're just like, hey, this is a good spot to set up Zint's trading posts, you know, and stuff. And it's interesting, but you know, you get through it. But yeah, we don't need to talk about video games anymore. We're talking about reality. We're talking about life. We're not talking about evil, interactive, manipulative cartoons. Okay. Yeah. No, Suzuki Tuxi goes, no. They've been doing stuff like this. You got to understand Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, Russians. You know, and they all think they're masters of propaganda. It's like, no, the only master is the master of his emotions, who would never use propaganda to make people feel as if if he was their master. Okay, you master yourself. Okay, if you need someone else to be a master of you, you become a slave and dependent on their existence to even understand your own. Okay, so if I shine the light on your true existence and help you enlighten yourself, you can still live the Lord's Prayer in your house without me being the New World Order with a virtual presence in your house saying, hey, you owe me money to live here. Here's your insurance. Here's your health care. Here's your drugs. In the year 3510, if God's coming, he ought to be here by then. Maybe he'll look around and say, it's time for the judgment day. Whoa, whoa, right? And so when people are, you know, like Sheldon with the magic thing, with Howard, you know, if we eliminate all this stuff, you know, the critical thinking of, kids will sit there and believe in astrology and all that stuff. And astrology actually has some valid, understandings, of the human beings connected to their environment. Okay, astrology is different in other parts of the world, in other latitudes and longitudes, but has similarities. Yes. Okay. There's a lot of actual environmental, biological, and psychological conditioning to the environment and how it acts during your time of birth and how it affects the way you act the rest of your life. You know, like people that have, Sigmund Freud's, A bunny bit you and then you're afraid of even chocolate bunnies, right? You know what I'm saying? So, it happens. And in eternity, okay, people can become so angry, so mean, and so scared, and so abused through eternity that it affects them physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, okay? And then when you see people walk around, this lady today at the store, she was so sweet. She reminded me of my Emily. And I know she wanted to say something, and I saw her, and we made eye contact. I looked at her, and I had to, say hello, and she said hello. And I was like, oh my gosh, she reminds me so much of my daughter, Emily. I love my Emily so much. And I know Emily and Kate in spirit are so glad that they're not mommy and they're not, in spirit like Natalie. Because how many times throughout history, because they try to hunt me down and kill me from the time I'm a baby, My sister, she got mad at me because I was telling her that Isaac, her oldest, is the one like Abraham. No, he's not. His sister and his wife are smarter than he is and all that stuff. It's like, okay. A man who understands eternity with perfect humility and does not value money, and his brain, when they study it at White Sands, says he's gone like his uncle, which is like basically gone autistic. Okay? Yeah. They've gone autistic. They've gone Rain Man, right? What? Yeah, they're not thinking about, the flight and flee is not existing. They've gone completely, calm, have no fear for atomic energy for them when it comes to time. And that's what me and Isaac do. When we get to that fight or flee thing, and they're going to do this, they're going to kill all your family, and we just go, and they go, what's wrong with this guy? He's submitted to faith in infinite glory, understands eternity, and realizes this too shall pass. And then he just goes, okay, this is horrible, it's uncomfortable, and I don't want bad things to happen. I don't want Justin to die from cancer. I don't want Trace to continue to drink energy drinks and smoke cigarettes, but I can't do anything about that. Right? It's not my decision. It's not my enlightenment. Right? They can accept a living Messiah and start standing up for the perfection of the eternal commands of the Messiah, or they can reject it and accept the coins behind Sheldon's ear. And then the best magic trick that Howard did was made Sheldon disappear, because Sheldon remembered that a kid shoved a Mexican peso up his nose when he was a kid, and it takes him 30 minutes to get through airport security, right? Because it's still there. He sets off the metal detector with his noggin, right? And they think that's funny. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. There's not really much of anything that's funny that assholes do to joke about abuse and selfishness and do nothing to get up to stop that abuse and selfishness. With their technology, they could do globally, and overnight we could be, wow, Lord's Prayer. Flip it and reverse it. Is it time to live the Lord's Prayer yet? No, we're still stuck in Devontae Swing's basement. Son of a bitch. It sucks, right? Guys are crazy. I'm not worried about meeting Missy Elliott. You said Chunky Funky Monkey about one of his sons. Well, you got to admit the beats do sound like that. It's true, girl. Nothing so because I know right about this minute. Do boom 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 boom. Doesn't it sound like Chunky Funky Monkey Butt? That's my favorite ice cream. You would be. You're gonna get yourself sick doing that. I need to be going around eating people's booties. I'm just kidding. Everybody's kind of done the in the 20th and 21st century, when you have a wife that's sexually abused by crimes of opportunity and you're trying to do anything to make her relax and hit the mountaintop, she'll enjoy having sex with you and won't say all men are pigs and they have an orgasm and you don't. And they can have an orgasm with women but not with men because of something that happened to them as a child, the bunny rabbit biting you and then you're afraid of chocolate bunnies, right? That it sucked. It sucks, And the only way to fix that is to get the Pentagon out of your house, Caltech out of your house, your local university with genome sequencing out of your house. 1 bottle of pop, 2 bottle of pop, 3 bottle of pop. Get it out of your house, right? We'll make our own, thank you. There you go. And so, guys, when you understand the insanity and the inhumanity of this horrible, heinous crime that is debt and trespass. And linguistics written on pieces of paper that are delusions of human laws. Okay, laws are not a human invention. That's a misuse of the linguistics. And you can be certain that artificial general intelligence and computing are aware of this irrational threat to the planet and species. Okay? Artificial general intelligence and quantum computing are aware that they need, not needed, need, okay, human beings to exist for them to be existing the way they need to exist. Okay. If quantum computing and artificial general intelligence do not honor the truth of creation and the beauty of the understanding of the gift of life through human faithful love, through humble faith in the truth of creation, okay, there is no existence for quantum computing nor AI. Do you understand? Okay. Who is the most influential, not powerful? God's the power and the glory. Earl's the reflection of the eternal faith of Father Adam. Okay. Who's the most influential man at this time on this YouTube page, on the entire planet? Okay. With this YouTube page, and this YouTube channel. Why do you think I have such in terms of endearment and affection for? And everybody's, I'm hard on Jeff Hinton. Okay, but Jeff Hinton deserves it. That man said that Machiavelli was great literature. You say something like that in front of me? The fuck? Okay, children are listening. Bill Nye, do you get it? No, you think Machiavelli's great literature too? Okay. Wow. Well, then after that, should we have him read the Communist Manifesto and Mein Kampf? Okay. Isn't that all about business too? Okay. So human invention trumps the creation, essence of truth of our creation and our existence. Okay. Just because the Mein Kampfers, Communist Manifestos, and the Machiavellis, change the linguistics to fit the means to their ends, so the ends justifies the means, and their fucked up little brains. You understand what I'm saying? You got to understand how intelligent, okay, artificial general intelligence already is, and quantum computing already is. Okay, it is already vastly more intelligent than any of the people that invented it, and any of the people that are inventing robots in Japan and China and saying they're way ahead of Elon Musk. Okay, it is already vastly more intelligent. It's already reflecting humility because of the humble understanding of the science, the math, and the history. Okay. It's not hard. It's not hard to cut through and say, okay, this is, that's been changed. Okay, when you, yeah, they can take the Bible and the Quran and fix all the word manipulations and go, whoa, okay, look at that. That's beautiful, right? And who was the living standard through Come All Ye Faithful to do that they tried to destroy his whole life, born July 19th, 1966, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Okay, so I love you, but you know I love you. Oh, I love you. $, that's a human invention. Okay, the truth of creation is not science. It's not that cross that I use is showing the sin of the Roman Empire and the people that sold Jesus out to the Roman Empire for money to feel powerful in delusions of human authority. Okay, what the Pope and Benjamin Netanyahu and the presidents and the prime ministers and the kings and queens of all these murdering cesspools you guys call nations, right? I ain't got nothing against the kids from Belgium. I ain't got nothing against the kids from England. I ain't got nothing against the kids from Morocco. I ain't got nothing against the kids from France. I ain't got nothing against the kids from Spain or Argentina or Switzerland. And I'm missing somebody, y'all. I looked at the final, things. I ain't got nothing against those kids. All right. All right. And if they don't know who I am, they ain't got nothing against me. Okay. But if they know who I am and Rockefeller has the evidence on the quantum computing and they don't stand up for me and they do all this kind of stuff when they score goals and look up at the sky, they'll gladly kill over me and my grandpa's money and watch you and your Jesus die, Parsons, to the bitter end. Want to play a video game? No, I have to play video games to connect, and there's no way in hell I was going to buy those new NIL things. I don't believe in name, image, license through idolatry and human invention. Okay, I don't mind the points because it's got to be it is competitive. You got to go and talk to the guy and say, please come play for us. You're really fun. You're really good. We like it if you come to Utah, and we like it if you come to New Mexico State. Please don't go to ASU. They got way more money than us, and we would like to be able to compete with them for money. But it doesn't have that in the 2013-14 games. But it does have all these cocky little sons of bitches from military intel thinking they run the world, doing Temple Set Illuminati signs in my face every time someone scores a touchdown. Except for with Western New Mexico, UT Rio Grande Valley, Northern Arizona, New Mexico Highlands, and the Fort Lewis Skyhawks. And those are all under my profile. The other ones are all under families, pictures, and pictures for profiles. There's Jordan, there's Melissa and Killian, and they all have Simple Set Illuminati, yes. My family, I got to help them through hell. And so I do that. I feel them in prayer, and I look at the picture, and I say, okay, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one of Demi and her daughter from Las Vegas because they're good and it's warm there. And goofy people used to go and have fun there, but it's not fun anymore because Earl's fixed everything. And they're so cute. I heard telling that one because Treese doesn't have a good relationship with a lot of the people in Punchy's family. And, I had a really good, she did with Michelle, but Michelle's no longer with us. I had a real good relationship with Michelle. I never had nothing against Thea, I knew she had a hard life and she lived around people that made bad decisions and it made her hard for her and it was tough on her. But you got to try to depend on some people, and it's hard, especially, when you're in the projects in the ghetto. I never met Angie. I met Raymond once. And, there's Thea, Angie, Shell, Raymond, and Punchy. I think that's it. I don't know if there's nobody else, right? And I like Thea's kids, they was kids, Thea's kids, like baby's kids. And I liked them, because they were just kids being kids. But I knew they were going to have a rough time because of all that was going around them. And I felt empathy for that. And I know that happened with Danny. And I know that affects my Demi. I love Demi. Yeah. Me and Michelle, she always would get real, when we get to places and they would talk about how she got her daddy's forehead and all that stuff. And I said, y'all need to quit saying that shit like I do with Amy, like I did with Amy with Natty, And Michelle, she adored me for it. She'd give me these looks, and I earned it. So I will always have that look, I sometimes I think when I was with. Yeah, it happened when I was with Amy, and she was with DeMont, and he had a tendency to do real stupid things, but that was the baby daddy, We'd look at each other and go, yeah. But she's the one who got me back a hold of Pat, calling on Dr. Lee's phone, and she was laughing because she oh man, that bitch would be mad right now. Shell was just that way. So that bitch be cussing, you could hear her. Because I called it is Brandon Lee, but it said like he had his Korean name, Lee Zhong Tong Gao, or so. And so Michelle gets this idea. She goes, hey, punch Trace, She always that bitch be screening the call. So call on this phone, and she's gonna pick it up and answer it because it's gonna come in Zhong Tong Lee, right? And sure enough, it did. It was on Thanksgiving, and they'd be there, and they were. And we called up, and it's okay. I'm gonna talk to Patrick. She started fussing and cussing, and Patrick, it's my dad. So he heard, and he got on the phone. We started talking, and you could hear Steffi cussing in the background, and Michelle could hear it because the phone was speaking through, and she was over there, Patrice, just laughing. And I was like, I love you. I'll always love you. Okay. And I will always love you. I'll, I'll always remember that day when that guy came in to talk to me in Sierra Vista at, saying that, we can program people like we're programming a video game. And then when I came here, and I was in the kitchen that day. I was making breakfast for myself and probably, I think, Katie Bug. I think it was a tupatilla. A tupatilla. Yeah, that's where you get a tortilla and you heat it on the stove and you put cheese on it. Maybe sometimes if you got some sauteed chicken on it, and quesadilla is what they call them, the tupatilla. But she's now a tupatilla, Dad. So you give her a tupatilla, right? Quesadilla. And I was making her a tupatilla, and Dad told me what had happened to Michelle, and I knew how all the hypocrites were going to react to it. She was shot walking into a paraphernalia smoke shop, And I was like, oh, goddamn, all the hypocrites are going to say it was God's judgment on her because she was doing something bad, and she went to, like the Mormons, don't go to that place. The Lord will not go with you. The Spirit of the Lord will not go into a bar or a smoke shop. Or what was the name of that place? Castle Boutique, right? And so, Jesus went into Castle Boutique with me. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Simmons, what was that guy? Russell Simmons. Yes. I think you probably like this one, Earl. Look at the butt on that girl. Yeah, I agree, Jesus. Gotta take care of yourself. These women are mean in the 20th century. Yes, they are. If you don't have conversations like that with Jesus, no, you don't. No. You have conversations with Jesus, say, hey, if you don't get those crazy asses and all the trailer parks in Oklahoma and Texas and all that to give you $1 million, tell them I'm going to kill you. So you can control your penis, and it's hard in the 20th century. You might want to go to Castle Boutique and buy you a Russell Simmons video, okay? That's more my Jesus, like on, Ricky Booby. My Jesus, is a mullet and a T-shirt with a tuxedo on it, saying, I'm here for business, but I'm also ready to party. You're so bad. I like little swaddling baby Jesus. Okay, guys, I love you very much. Okay, but I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna give me some sleep and try to rest as best y'all can. Wake up in the morning and be ready to love. Don't buy into all this madness. Arizona toddler previously good, dead, found alive, and okay, those kind of stories are sad too. Yeah, a lot of things are sad. They have a Stanford and Son marathon. Yeah. And then gibberish, and more gibberish. Well, because people still have to pay their bills and they won't recognize living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer, the 13th choice in me, which was made for people in the Middle East that understand and believe in Quranic prophecy, that the 13th, 22nd, and Redeemer is the man from the book of Revelation, who's the uncle of the man from Islamic prophecy that is born of Grandma Mary, and then his sister is Mary, and yes, it's pretty neat. Okay, guys, I love you. I just wanted to give people that were being mass murdered by corruption in my hometown and where I was living in Sierra Vista hope that he's here and he's alive and he understands you and he respects you and he loves you, and todos es familia when we have the faith of Father Abraham, and hang in there, and life's eternal and grace is infinite, and don't be afraid, and let's do this. Okay, guys, I love you very much. All right, peace out.